think I saw like one white kid there. There's a specific line when Killmonger goes to the astral plane that highlights this nuance like very well, as well as some of the motivations for Killmonger himself. His dad, well, first off, they have him revert back to him being young, and show his dad being young as well, because that's when he died. No tears for me. And do you remember what Killmonger's response was? Actually,
there's no use crying over it. Everyone dies.
Yes, everyone dies around here. That's just kind of the norm out here. And unfortunately, that's a lot more real than I think most people realize. I have the privilege to have grown up in a relatively well-off family, but I did grow up in a broken home, and after eventually going with my mother, I did get to go see what being in poverty is like. Good Lord, that is something worth fighting for. There's so much I want to get into, but one, it would make this podcast a lot longer than it is, and two, it's just something that you would have to see. It's kind of hard to just talk about. The biggest problem with help people in poverty is that it is mostly a systemic issue. But go back to Killmonger for a second. So I've seen poverty, and I've seen like the kind of effect it has on people, and yeah, that's kind of real. Like the people, I don't say they don't fear death, but there's some of the kind of people who, if they heard their cousin died, they may not cry. It's really sad actually, because yeah, somebody died. Oh, it's another month. It's like that kind of place. Like, oh, I couldn't afford my medical bills, or he couldn't afford his medical bills, or he, gang violence, or the police got to him. That kind of place. I bring that up because it invokes a certain type of mentality. Before I jump into that, I ask you to keep something in mind in Discord at least. What are your thoughts?
On Killmonger's motivation?
Mm-hmm.
From what I hear, I understand that he went through a lot and he wants to help people and like try to fight for them. But I think he's going about it like he's just continuing his father's work, and even then it's not the best. I think, as I said before, not the best thought out, because as soon as someone gets vibrating weapons from them, welcome to next arm race. And that's not going to solve anything because
there is a few standout moments that help paint Killmonger's motivations. So, first off, back to the ancestral plane. There's another moment in there where his father kind of realizes, what have I done? So, like you mentioned, he's continuing his father's work.
Yeah.
Yes. And then his father also realizes, or at least appears to have realized, I've messed up. I've completely screwed up. And now I've created you, who is also continuing my screw up. 2, there is a saying, unfortunately, the audience is a bit too white for this one, so you're going to have to replace some words on your own. You can take a man out of the hood, but you can't take the hood out of a man.
Oh, I think that basically means you cannot... How do I explain this?
Oh, are you sure you want to go for this, or you want to just let me, the black person, do it?
You can do it.
Okay, alright.
You can do it. I'm gonna go, I'll go over what I think, but I don't want to get messed up.
Alright.
I was just thinking, like, the experiences will forever change you, basically, what I thought.
You're on the right track. Yeah.
And I wanted to explain it in better words, but that's hard to explain because...
There has been both studies done and just, like, real-life experiences, like, observable experiences. You take someone from poverty immediately into a place where they're rather well off. They don't behave the way that you would expect them to. They still cling on to past habits and things like that are entirely self-destructive. Maybe they don't need to do that anymore. The problem is, that's all they've known. Like, once again, we get back to when Killmonger gets to the astral plane. Actually, no, contrast that with how when T'Challa gets to the astral plane. He gets to the astral plane, T'Challa, and it's basically African heaven. It's literally the savannah. All his ancestors are there. It's bright and colorful and pretty.
Yeah.
It's great. Killmonger gets to the astral plane, and it's just his old apartment, because that's all he's known. That's it. It's not pretty. His dad is there, but there's nothing fantastical about it. It's his apartment on a fateful day, and that's rather depressing. It is that mentality that kind of informs his decisions. He He's grown up his entire life having to fight without a father as well. For most of his life, at least. Having to fight for everything, living in poverty. He hasn't had that experience of living like a king in a futuristic nation that doesn't have to worry about anything else. He doesn't come from a place of privilege like T'Challa does. He comes from a place of poverty, where everything he's gotten, he's had to fight quite hard for. That kind of mentality has kind of carried through with him to his entire life.